Happy Friday, everyone, and warm greetings to all our valued passengers, Balikbayan TravelWise group members, and Kababayans. I'm Mariel Cabin with TravelWise International, and I would like to share the news on the latest update on travel restrictions to the Philippines proposed by the Interagency Task Force in Resolution 95, as well as give general advisory for all international travelers returning to the U.S. As a recap, since December 30th, identified countries that had reports of the new variant strain has temporarily banned foreign travelers from entering the Philippines and requires that any Philippine nationals and dual citizens to undergo an absolute 14-day facility-based quarantine, notwithstanding a negative COVID test. There are now 35 countries that are affected by this travel ban, which includes the US and Jamaica. Travelers originating from or have been in contact with any of these 35 countries within the last 14 days of arriving to the Philippines will be subject to these travel restrictions and entry requirements until the extended date of January 31st. Two major updates that are addressed in Resolution 95 is the amendment relating to the Philippine entry and quarantine restrictions currently being imposed and the travels with immediate family members. While foreigners are still prohibited from entering the Philippines until January 31st, Philippine nationals will be required to take a COVID test upon arrival and conduct their facility-based quarantine. Now, the biggest change is that on the 5th day, they will be tested for a second time, and if both tests yield a negative result, then the traveler will be endorsed to the local government units of the destination, who will then strictly monitor the remainder of the 14-day quarantine through their respective barangay health emergency response team. In other words, if you test negative for both tests, you can proceed to your final destination, the Philippines, and conduct the remainder of your 14-day quarantine at home. The second update in Resolution 95 addresses traveling with immediate family members. Now, foreign spouses and minor children of Philippine nationals may enter the Philippines provided that they are traveling with the Philippine national. I want to highlight that they have to be traveling with the Philippine national and can provide a valid entry visa, new or existing will be accepted, and will be subject to the same testing quarantine protocols applied to the Philippine nationals. Keep in mind that any foreign spouses or minor children that are traveling with the Philippine national will still need to provide travel documents such as marriage certificates and birth certificates to show the relationship with the Philippine national. Now, and on another note, all passengers that have scheduled international trips on or after the January 26th will be required to take a COVID test within 3 days prior to their U.S. return flight and provide documentation of a negative lab result or provide documentation that they have recovered from COVID to the airlines. The airlines will be required to confirm the negative COVID test or documentation of recovery before boarding. So any passengers that are unable to provide these documents will be denied boarding. In efforts to expand this protocol, President Biden just signed an executive order which will mandate that international travelers returning to the U.S. will be required to conduct a 10-day quarantine. Now, official details are still not available, but are expected to go into effect in the next several days. These are the current public advisories for travels to the Philippines and returning international travelers to the U.S. While we wait for more information, we encourage you to stay connected with us by joining our dedicated travel Facebook group called Balikbayan TravelWise. And if you are affected by any of these public advisories to the Philippines, or you have an upcoming international trip and you have questions on how to prepare, please feel free to call any of our travel advisors at 301-248-8898. Or if you're just simply monitoring the whole situation and trying to plan accordingly and would like to receive this information directly to your inbox, please message us on Facebook, your email, and we'll be sure to add you to our list. Again, my name is Mariel Cabin. We're smart people, travel wise.